Hey everyone, it is Cindy Rowe with Cindy Rowe Marketing, and it's Wednesday, which means it's my favorite day of the week where I get to interview amazing small business owners, and today is no exception. Hello, Chris, how are you?
I am well. How are you? Thanks so much
I'm
for having
good.
me.
Thank you for being here. I'm sorry, Dr. Chris. I know you worked really hard for those few letters in between your before your name. So
No worries.
you were actually referred to me by another guest that I had on the show a few months ago. Maybe it was only a month ago. I don't know. This time just goes by so fast. And then I got the pleasure of meeting you at a networking event. So I'm excited to have you as a guest. Can you tell everybody, Dr. Chris, what it is you do?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Chris Solly, and I am the founder and owner of Elevated Health Essentials, which is a neuro rehab facility here in the Rockford area. I specialize in all things brain related, functional neurology, chiropractic neurology, functional medicine, and chiropractic. And the main reason why we do is because the body's only ever going to break down in three different areas. Either it can be categorized as form, fuel, or function, right? So our form is biomechanical, musculoskeletal, aches, pains, neck pain, back pain, joint pain, all of that kind of stuff, right? And then you have your fuel, which would be your metabolic, which would be our blood chemistry and brain chemistry. And then the last one is function. And that's probably the most exciting part, right? Because now we start talking about how the brain and the body function together. So that's what we do.
Very exciting. And as we were speaking before we went live, I wish I would have known about you sooner, because as a few people maybe that are watching might know, that I got in a horrible car accident and had a brain injury, and actually was not diagnosed until 2 months later, when my health was decreasing, and I'm like, there's something wrong here. Like I can't function, I can't think, I can't, like, it hurts to like look out the window, like all these things. And it would have been beneficial to know you existed then, because I had to do a lot of stuff on my own. Now I had a great see, here's those word, like, where they disappear. What do you call it? Neurologist. There we go. It
Yes.
still happens 3 years later, and I get irritated when people are like, "Oh, but that's old age." I'm like, "Yeah, that wasn't all the time. Like, this happens on a regular basis." Anyway, I had a really good neurologist and a brain therapist, but it only went so far. So I think, from what I've learned so far of what you offer, I think it would have been very beneficial to my healing and recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. And so brain injuries are so difficult. They call them the invisible injury, right? Because to the rest of the world, you look like you're perfectly normal and you should be functioning just fine. But that's really not the case. And the old advice was sit in a dark room, wear earplugs and sunglasses for 2 weeks, and hopefully symptoms will resolve. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. And so research is starting to emerge in the last 5, 8 years that suggests that that's really not the best option. And so what we're finding in our clinic is that about 85% of patients who come in with some sort of traumatic brain injury or concussion, they have feelings of headache, neck pain, fatigue, dizziness, concentration issues, brain fog. And what we actually find is that you have poor balance, you have poor eye movements,
Yep.
you have impaired cognition or impaired ability to think, you have poor eye tracking, and you have incoordination. And what's beautiful about functional neurology or chiropractic neurology is that we find activities to activate those areas of brain deficit. right? So we might combine eye movement therapies with balance therapies, with cognitive therapies. And what's really exciting for us is we're able to take an individual like yourself, look at you as a whole, and find out exactly what's been going on and what type of therapies and activities we can do to help you regain that function.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yep. Yeah, and just one more side note on that, and then we can get into the other questions. But I didn't realize that my balance was off and the coordination until I went and finally saw the brain therapist, and he had me stand on one or try to stand on one leg. And prior to my accident, I was a fitness instructor and was able to do one-legged or, stand on one leg and do bicep curls. So it was not a big deal. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
it was like, and to me, I was like, no way. Like I had no idea because up to that point, I had no intention of standing on like I didn't want to do
Right.
that,
Well,
anyway.
how often do we do that, right? We don't stand like flamingos on a normal basis. But
Yeah.
yeah, what we do is we put you on a balance plate. And so what it's called a dynamic computerized posturography, which is essentially a force plate that we can measure your balance in real time and see exactly what those sway patterns look like. And then we can back route that through the neural tracks to determine exactly where that area is being affected from. And then we know what area we need to activate, right? And then
That's
same
great.
thing with eye movement. So most people don't recognize that they have eye movement issues. The only way they really experience it is either pressure in the head or they feel like their vision just gets a little blurry or a little fuzzy from time to time. And so what we do is we use a diagnostic piece of equipment where we do a videography and we track your eyes and we watch them in real time and see exactly how they react to a particular stimulus. And so it really unlocks our ability to rehab the brain more appropriately and more efficiently than we were able to before.
Yeah, sounds incredible. So what got you into this type of care?
So I went to school in Atlanta to become a chiropractor, and I was going to be a very mainstream chiropractor. I was going to work on headache, neck pain, back pain, all the rest, right? And it was the first homecoming that we had while I was there, which just so happened to be my second or third day in the program. And a guy by the name of Ted Carrick was there to speak. And come to find out, he's the father or grandfather of functional neurology or chiropractic neurology. And so for about 45 minutes, he's talking about things that are going completely over my head because it's my second day in chiropractic school. And at the end, he started showing videos of actual clinical cases that he's had. And I watched him fix a patient who had Tourette's. I watched him pull some people out of comas. I watched what I saw in those 15 minutes was absolutely profound, and it completely changed the trajectory of my career. The very second quarter that I was there, I started in functional neurology club. Probably the quarter after that, I started taking seminars through the Carrick Institute and started on my path to getting my postdoctorate degree in clinical neuroscience. And it's just been a whirlwind. It's kind of one of those rabbit holes that you never want to crawl out of, because the
Right.
further and further you go, the deeper and deeper you get, the more and more intrigued you are. And it's just an endless case of curiosity for me at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose the brain allows that that gateway, I guess, to always be intrigued because it's just so fascinating anyway.
As much research has been done, I think we are only scratching the surface of
Yeah,
what's really there and what's really out there, for
yeah.
sure.
So, how long has your business been in business?
So I graduated in 2013. I started practicing in September of 2013. I actually had a clinic in Woodridge back in
Okay.
2014. and we were living here at the time. So it just kind of made sense. In 2018, we made the official switch. We opened up Elevated Health Essentials. Actually, it was Rockford Chiropractic Neurology and Nutrition Center, but that was just way too hard to say.
That's
So,
a mouthful.
yeah. So we founded Elevated Health Essentials in 2018, and we've been here in the Rockford area ever since.
That's great. So what has helped you along the way, like to get to where you're at now, the services that you provide, like what has been those things that, have really helped?
In terms of the training, I would say doing my seminars with the Carrick Institute have been profound, right? As a chiropractic student, getting my doctorate, I was required to do a 6-month internship. I had a phenomenal mentor who was an expert in myofascial technique. He actually developed his own myofascial technique called myosynaptics. His name is Mark Ellis. And he also specialized in functional medicine and chiropractic neurology, right? So I amassed over 500 hours in his clinic, much to my wife's dismay. We had three young boys at the time, right? And here I am, I'm spending 500 hours over 6 months in this doc's clinic. There were times that we would just sit after patients and I wouldn't get home until like 11:30 because we're just talking about neurology and chiropractic and just different ways of understanding how the body works and how you can help improve it. And then from there, Dr. Carrick actually had a clinic in Atlanta called the Carrick Brain Centers. And because of my time with Dr. Ellis, I really had an experience like none other. I was able to volunteer there for about 250 hours before I ever even graduated. And I got to run diagnostic reviews and help Dr. Carrick to be able to show the patients that he was treating exactly what their diagnostics looked like. And so that was, I mean, I can't even describe how much that projected my ability to help treat patients.
Yeah.
So I would say those two things in the treatment side and like helping me develop my career, right? In terms of the business, I really have to say joining a local BNI group has really, really helped. They just, I mean, the amount of support that they've given me and just, it's an interesting format, right? So you're required to do what's called a 1-to-1 as often as possible, but they recommend one a week. But I mean, some of the people in our group are just so profound and so good at what they do. Like it's really hard to just do one, right? And so I have to say that in terms of the practice expanding, really that's been foundational. Yeah. And then so through BNI, I got linked up with InCrowd, and that's how you and I met. Mm-hmm. Was through somebody who is in our BNI group and involved with InCrowd, right? So Paul Lundeen. So
yeah. And so when you started your business, did you realize that networking was going to be such a key component in, the growth of your business?
I'm going to say yes and no, right? Like I knew I needed to, but I didn't realize how vastly important it would be.
Yeah.
It's interesting. When I started my practice, you kind of feel like you're on an island, right? Mm-hmm. And it really wasn't until I started networking that it really started to blossom and flourish, right? I know that there was an interview that Elon Musk did years back, right? And he's talking about how we throw baby showers for people who are having babies and how we should throw business showers for people who are starting businesses. And it was so interesting because as I stepped back from doing that in-crowd meeting, that's exactly what I felt like it was. It felt like it was a business shower. Yeah. It gave me the opportunity to share my message, It gave me the opportunity to tell everybody what Elevated Health Essentials is about, how we started it, why we started it. And there's so much support there, right? And it's profound for new small businesses.
Yeah, and when you network and you find those connectors that really know who you need to know and kind of like connect you, right? Like those people are so pivotal, I think, in our businesses, and there's not a lot of them.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's such a special trait for some people that really, and when I go to networking events, I'm like, okay, who do I need to connect with, and who else do I need to connect people? Like, I really have that in my head, but then, you start talking to people, and then that kind of goes
Right,
off the
right.
wayside. But so, what kind of advice would you give to your younger self after going through these few years of owning your own business? That's a new question. I haven't asked that one. It just came to me.
You're right. Well, thanks for fielding it on me first. What advice would I give my younger self? I would say, don't be in such a rush, because for whatever reason, timing is perfect, no matter what. Secondarily, and probably more importantly, as important it is what you do, it's not as important as being able to tell people what you do, right? So it's the whole idea that it almost doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter what I do, because what I do is pivotal, right? But it's more important that I can let other people know what we do, because I've been in practice for 8 years, and it really hasn't been until the last 6 months to a year that we've actually been able to share our message and let people know that we're here.
Right.
Like you said at the beginning of the interview, you wish you'd have known about us sooner. Well, if I was a better marketer, I probably would have let you know about us sooner.
I happen to know somebody that might be able to help you. Oh, that's great though. And I hear you too. Like it's, you have to be, you have to know the message that you want to put out there. And, your type of business is really, there's an education piece to it, right? Like you're just not a typical chiropractor. Like, yeah, you can do that, but there's so much more that you can offer that, really help the whole being, right? I mean, and to get that out to the right people and in the right fashion and still relay the message, I think can be a challenge. I think, it's not like I just do marketing,
Right.
you have different layers of everything that you can provide. So it's a little bit different.
Right.
How do you define success?
So I've belonged to a coaching group for a little over a year now, and the definition has changed.
Okay,
right?
good.
So I think originally it was dollars in the bank account and notoriety and prestige, and it's just I don't know. I guess maybe that's not who I am, so that's why it had to change, because it wasn't authentically me. But to me, at this point, success is being able to show up to work every day in love with what you're doing and being able to share a balanced life, right? Being able to have quality time with friends and family, being able to serve your community in whatever capacity that you can, and just in loving what you do. That I would say that would be success to me right now.
Yeah, I like that. And that for me, it's very similar, but it's like being better than I was yesterday. So always taking a lesson from the day before, and how can I improve or get better, or and especially if there's something that negatively happened or whatever, that you learn from it, you grow from it, and you move on. I also agree with the whole balance thing. I learned through one of the blessings from my accident was that I needed to slow down, and I needed to really refocus my energies, right? Well, I was forced to, but I decided through my recovery, that I wasn't going to be working on the weekends unless it was a major project that I had to complete, right? But I wasn't going to do it. And that piece of the pie, and having, like, not feeling burnt out, because I feel like small business owners, there's just so much that is on our plate, right? Not just the services that we provide, but everything else, that you just get burnt out. And felt like I was working all the time. And yeah, so since then, I don't work. Saturdays and Sundays are very precious to me, unless of course I fooled off during the week and I needed to catch up on something, but that's on me, right? That was a choice. But yeah, I like the balance part. And so, are you successful?
I would say at this moment in time, yeah. I
That's
mean,
great.
I absolutely love what I do. I can't imagine ever doing anything else. Um, I do get to enjoy quality time with friends and family, and I get to have an impact, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So I would say, yeah.
Did you grow up knowing that you wanted to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely not. I had no idea. It's so funny, right? So, as a matter of fact, this picture that I have behind me, that is an aircraft that I worked on when I was in the Air Force. I was an aircraft structural maintenance technician. I did plain body work and paint, right? So graduated high school, knew I was going to go into the military, and decided to go Air Force. Was an aircraft structural maintenance technician, and then from there, I started to decide that I wanted to learn more about the body, because I was going to the gym, and I was I was the quintessential gym rat, right? I would be in the gym on a Friday night at like 11:30, just working out, right? And so I decided at that point, I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I want to know what I'm doing. I want to know why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. So I decided at that point to go take like a weekend seminar to be a certified personal trainer.
That's
And
awesome.
so and so I did that, and then decided, well, I think I need to know more. So then when I got out of the Air Force, I went to the University of Illinois and studied kinesiology and sports medicine. And
Nice.
so it was kind of this, I don't know, just a weird path, right? It's how we're led or directed, or,
Yeah. But it's
and so
cool that
step by step.
yeah, but you followed like your passion and what interested you, and you didn't just let it, I, I'm the gym rat and that's it. Like, you were intrigued by it, and you found that, that led you to where you're at today. We have a couple of questions from viewers, so I'm going to post them here.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
is there a supplement that you pretty much suggest nearly everyone take for overall better health?
Oh, that is a loaded question.
Yes.
So yeah, right. Yes. Next question. Um, so there are a few pillars to health that I think of as I go through and determine what it takes to be healthy, right? So there's gut health. Okay, that is pivotal. And so there's a couple of products that I recommend for what I call GI hygiene, and it's because they are natural plant alkaloids. So we really don't develop tolerance, and we don't really develop resistance to them. And those are berberine and uva ursi. And both of them are antimicrobial, so like antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal, right? And then to some extent the same with Uva ursi. And after 7 years of doing GI testing, those are what get recommended a vast majority of the time without them being too strong a supplement to take. So that would be for gut health. And then obviously just a good quality multi-mineral multivitamin it's paramount, right? The weird thing though is in my office, while I do recommend supplements, I only recommend them for a short period of time. I want to restore the nutritional deficiencies, which we test for, by the way. But then over a short period of time, 12, 15 weeks, we want to taper those down to what would be considered maintenance. So maybe you're only taking those supplements once or twice a week because they're only supposed to supplement our natural food, right? And so if you've got good GI health, if you've got a good diet, you should be getting 90% of your nutrients, 95% of your nutrients through the food that you eat. The only thing that happens is if we have like an absorption issue or we have some sort of other thing going on with our blood chemistry that just messes it up.
Yeah.
And then so the third thing that I would recommend is I would recommend a good omega-3, right? And so some people, there's a little bit of debate that's going on right now about whether omega-3 fatty acids are good or whether they can be harmful or toxic. But what I would absolutely say is I would say that it's with everything else in life. It needs to be balanced, and it needs to be balanced for you. It needs to be balanced for me. And my balance isn't going to look like your balance. You're going to need different nutritional needs than I do.
Yeah. Do you offer supplements at your office, or
we absolutely do? Yeah. So we run a myriad of tests. It depends on why the patient comes in, right? So, excuse me, I just ordered a hormone test on somebody this previous week. We're going to map out her entire menstrual cycle and all of her hormones through it because she gets menstrual migraines. Right. And so we know that there's something that's interacting with either progesterone or estrogen. And it's just things that you don't typically see in conventional blood work.
Right. Is that part of the functional medicine?
Absolutely.
Aspect of your,
Yep. We also do nutritional testing where we can test blood, urine, saliva. We can test genetics. I mean, like I said, there's a myriad. But it really depends on what the patient presents with, right? Like there's no sense in me doing a GI test if you're coming in for something that's not GI related.
Right. Yeah. So the next question is, do you offer treatment for atlas misalignment?
I do.
Know what that is.
Well, so the atlas is the first bone that sits at the top of your spine. And then so you have the skull, and then you have the atlas, and then right under the atlas, you have the axis, right? And so they're vertebra. And so the atlas is considered your first cervical vertebrae. And yes, we do offer treatments for that. We do adjust patients here. Yes.
Awesome. So this is a perfect lead in to the last few minutes. I like to give my guests an opportunity to promote themselves. You've told us a few of your services, but the floor is yours. I'm going to put how people can reach you and find you up, but go ahead and tell us everything you want to tell us.
Perfect. Well, so again, I'm Dr. Chris with Elevated Health Essentials. We're super excited. We're going to be expanding our clinic. We're moving into a space that's about 2,000 square feet.
Wow.
And yes. And what's even more exciting is right next door to it is a classroom. Oh. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing weekly or monthly, more than likely monthly talks that are going to be on all things healthcare, right? So I am a firm believer that you are going to take better care of yourself and you're going to have better health if you're the one who's empowered to go after your own health. And so I find that patients who are involved and patients who really truly understand what's going on with themselves, they're the ones who seem to get the best results because they're invested.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be doing these monthly talks, and we're looking for suggestions. What do people need? What do people want to know more about? What are the answers that they're not getting answered when they're in their traditional medical doctor's office and they're just in and out,
I
right?
love
Like,
that.
people are suffering and they have questions that just don't get answered. And so what I want to do is once a month, I want to compile a lot of these and go over it in an extended period of time. So I believe one of the first ones that we're going to be doing is going to be on allergies, and both seasonal allergies and food allergies or food sensitivities, and just kind of explaining, why does the body have a tendency to start reacting to things?
Yeah.
And it's kind of fitting because it's almost May, and when you look outside, there's a lot of pollen floating around. So,
Yep. The flowers are starting to bud, or the trees are starting to bud. It's crazy.
absolutely.
Well, I have put everything down on the screen for you guys. Those that are watching live or on the replay, you can find Dr. Chris at all those places. Thank you so much for the awesome interview. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to having further conversations with you and learning a little bit more about the brain stuff that you do. I'm very intrigued. So thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, everybody, make sure you check us out again next week. I will have another awesome guest. Bye for now.
Bye.